Hi, I'm Daisy,
Hi, I'm David.
and we're the MSA Crusaders.
Welcome to another episode of MSA Crusaders. As y'all know, we're proud supporters of Mission MSA, and today we're happy to interview the CEO, Joe Lindahl. Joe, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, Joe. It's great to see you again.
You too.
Before we start with some questions, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your affiliation with Mission MSA?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been the CEO for Mission MSA for a little over 3 years, formerly of the MSA Coalition. So my day-to-day role is to maintain the operations, be a good steward of strategy, act as the overall face of the organization while representing both Mission MSA as well as the larger MSA community. So I've been doing this for 3 years. My prior experience has been in a lot of nonprofit and association management. I've been the executive director for two specialty medical and nursing organizations. I've worked on a larger trade association as well. So most of my career has really been around growing and sustaining organizations that are mission driven. And so this was a wonderful opportunity to join what was then a coalition to support what is obviously an incredibly imperative and important, urgent need to support the MSA community now and work diligently and purposefully towards finding a cure.
Very good.
Yeah, it's awesome to have the ability to make an impact on a disease like MSA, but also love your job, love your career, love what you're doing. It makes those people that have that quality of not only loving their job, but loving the cause, they do an even better job at doing it. So I know I've seen you in person, Joe, at the 5K walk in Chicago, and there's not many times you'll see a CEO show up to a simple fundraiser, even a small one. I just want to say thank you for what you're doing for furthering the cause for a cure for MSA.
No, absolutely. I certainly consider this role a privilege because, as you mentioned, David, I think many of us want to do good in a very direct way, and I think this position allows me an opportunity to do that for specifically the multiple system atrophy community. And let's be honest, I spend a majority of my time on this earth doing a job, and what better way to fill my cup than work for such an incredibly important, like I said, incredibly important job that hopefully, if we are successful as a community, we're actually going to make a significant difference for a lot of people out there.
And Joe, what is your connection to MSA?
I'm sorry? What is my connection to MSI? I don't have a direct connection to multiple system atrophy.
Maybe you knew somebody that had it.
No, I don't actually. And what's interesting doing what I do for a living, in many ways, we have to be willing to learn, we have to be really good listeners and willing to get into both the weeds and the clouds of how we can most purposely and intimately impact the people that we serve while maintaining our focus on the mission. So, for example, I've worked with neonatal nurses, and I've been fortunate. I never had a child in the NICU, but I had to learn, what do the patients need? What do the mothers need? What do the nurses need at the bedside? How do we educate them? And it's really no different by being here with the MSA community. And this is one of the reasons that I really wanted to be a part of this organization. I feel and see and can experience some of the impact that we're having as an organization, and even the 1% impact or influence I'm having to hopefully advance some of the things that we're doing is incredibly fulfilling for me as an individual. So it's a really incredibly rewarding job. So while I may not have a direct connection, I've certainly, as I've taken on this role, have learned a lot more about multiple system atrophy and atypical Parkinsonisms. And so it's been an incredibly important, eye-opening experience for me to feel like I do have a connection. After 3 years, I feel like I have an incredibly strong attachment to the work and the organization.
Yeah, I think you're very conservative in what you say. Like yourself with Mission MSA, you have done so much to further the cause. Like you and your organization is involved in quite a bit of funding for research, right, for MSA. I mean, I was on your website, and missionmsa.org, and you guys were involved in quite a few research projects for MSA and the like, and that says a lot because there's a lot of charities out there for X, Y, and Z, but there's not many charities that can raise the funding to do actual contribute to research for X, Y, and Z.
Right, right. And I think over $4 million we've provided direct funding for multiple system atrophy research, which we're very proud of. I think the other thing as we think about specifically in the realm of research is I think something I'm very proud of is how strong our collaboration has been with other organizations and including industry. We know it is so incredibly important for the patient to be involved with whatever therapeutic development is out there. So we need our voices, the care partner and the patient's voices, to be heard so that they fully understand how this drug or therapy is going to positively impact the patient. And they should also understand how important, what is the priorities, how will they experience, how will they get to the clinical trials, how are you educating the patients? So I think one of our roles is also to support industry's development of their clinical trials to make sure that they fully understand our community needs, wants, barriers, and opportunities. And we're also working more closely with professional societies such as the Movement Disorder Society, which is our movement disorder physicians, as well as other groups, so to make sure that we're identifying things that we could need to do independently and as an own entity, or where can we be a support system in a larger structure. We're working more closely with Cure PSP there because there are several opportunities from support and education where we can lend resources to one another to better enhance and create a more accessible network of care by working with some of these different organizations. We're working with NINDS to ask them about their grants and their strategy. So I'm really proud of not only the direct funding, which will certainly continue through our centers of excellence, but also how we are engaging purposefully targets of how can we best support others that are beginning to explore our space so that they're coming into it with real knowledge and continue to use us as a sounding board and real partner to make sure that whatever is created meets the needs for our patients and their families.
Yeah, I think that one of the many things that sets you apart from any other charity, let alone for MSA, your organization has an app for the phone, iPhone, Android, that does exactly what you say. It's hard to spread the word through the internet. I mean, we're here doing a podcast and we channels. Daisy has books. It's very hard to send word of MSA and cures and treatments and clinical trials. And the app that you have published on the stores does absolutely that. It gets everyone in one location to ask any questions, all the updates. It's very fascinating. I think that's one of the best things your organization has done. Right now, most charities, most places are segmented. You have Facebook, you got Instagram, you got TikTok, you have Reddit pages and things like that. But you have a standalone app that everything is all in one and accessible. So I definitely want to commend you because I go through there almost on a daily basis, and I'm just shocked at how much participation, knowledge, insight, feedback that people give, both good and bad, criticism, or you should do this and not do that, but most things are factual. If you have MSA or Parkinsonisms or Parkinson plus disease, that app is a one-stop shop for knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is easy to attain, but wisdom, gaining from other people's experiences, like you've allowed to happen through the use of the app, is very great. I want to commend you on publishing that app.
Appreciate that. It's called MSA Connect, which is what David is referencing, and it is an online community. Give an early preview here. I don't know when this will be released, but we are actually evolving the platform to have a mobile friendly on the App Store. So right now, you can access it's mobile friendly, but we will have its own app very soon. It will become more robust, and we're really excited about what that's going to look like coming out in end of June, early July. We're really excited about that. One of the reasons that we created this, David, was we saw that, to your point, things are kind of fragmented. There were a ton of different pages for different audience, but what we were examining and watching for a period of time, and honestly, a lot of the conversations were the same, even though they were designated as a specific audience. And we were asking people in our community, what's the value? How would you like to engage? And one of the things that we feel is really important is some level of trust within a community. The second being privacy. This is a private community. We do not sell your data. We do not sell it to any marketing companies. And we do our best to validate that they truly are connected with our community. And so Facebook and Instagram, we are there and certainly want to help spread our message. But they're, at the end of the day, Facebook has become more and more of a marketing tool, less of a community tool. And we have limited ability to impact that. This MSA Connect is our way to kind of create our own hub while ensuring people can feel safe with whatever it is they're sharing around themselves, personal and family. They're kind of in a safe space. So as we think about whatever the evolution will be for privacy laws, especially with AI, this is, I think, a very important note. Perhaps not the sexiest thing. Privacy doesn't scream fun, but it is important because this is a place where you can feel confident if you're saying something about your disease progression or your family or whatever it may be, that will not be scraped or sold by a marketing. So I do think that's one of the really, it's very important for me personally to make sure that our patients are protected.
Yeah, and kudos for your, I'll call them moderators at this point, but whenever a subject has been changed and it's not in alignment with MSA, your moderators are very quick to step in and say, it's this and not that, or they're the first ones to comment. Like, a lot of people ask about the qualifications for MSA, and one of your moderators puts the link to the NIH, or the Movement Disorder Society website for clinical diagnosis. And I mean, it's amazing how, whether it be volunteers or paid staffers, how quickly you guys are on top of answering subjects and correcting invalid information. Because unfortunately, first thing we do, I'm sure, Joe, you of all people know about this patients. First thing we do is we go to Google and search our symptoms and see what we have. Right? It might be good in the future. But we have a lot of comments, and people come on and say, "Oh, I think I have MSA because my right eye is twitching." And, you know. So I want to commend you for having a very safe, private, and accurate place where people can go to get information.
Appreciate that. It's great feedback, David, and we're going to continue to improve that platform because I do think it is an important tool.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, can you explain briefly how Mission MSA has evolved over the years? Because now it's called Mission MSA. Before it was MSA Coalition, I
That's all I
believe.
want to say.
Yeah. So how is that? How has that evolved over the years, especially since you've taken the lead?
Yeah, so the organization has evolved quite a bit, and we have I think, a pretty nice overlay of the history of the organization on our website. And so most recently, we were known as the Multiple System Atrophy Coalition, and we've grown from a completely volunteer organization to more of a staffed model, which is a normal evolutionary timeline for many nonprofits. You have dedicated volunteers who have literally put full-time jobs to get the organization where it is, and then they're at a point where they're ready to bring on paid staff to do the day-to-day operations and to meaningfully advance the work, bring in the subject matter expertise, be it from advocacy to awareness to technology, all those tools that are completely dedicated and centered around advancing the mission and the strategy of the organization. So we've continued to make that evolution from 4 years ago to now. We've grown our staff. We've been very audacious, I'd say, in terms of what our goals are. Part of that has certainly been in thanks to the previous foundation laid down by the volunteers. Without a shadow of a doubt, they did an incredible job raising funds, establishing an organization, and getting us ready to really, what I would call, be on a launch pad. And I think we are on a launch pad. We have really accelerated all of the operational excellence pieces that have defined our organization, which is education, support, awareness, and research. And now we are expanding those and really going to call out, where do we want to be in the next 3 to 5 years? How will we know what we have done has been successful? And how are we meaningfully keeping our eyes above the rim to make sure that we're being ready for what is an incredibly evolving environment from a policy perspective to a technology to a scientific? We are evolving at an incredibly rapid pace, and it's part of our job as an organization now with our construct to be ready for those things and find not only where we need to be and who we need to bring into our tent, but how do we prepare to take advantage of opportunities to make sure that we're delivering the best care and advancing our research for our community. And so I'm very proud of where we are. We also know we have a runway to go. And I think we all share ambitions of growing, continuing to grow as an organization so that we can do more. And that's the next step.
Yeah, I think from what I read, I look at financials. maybe it's, but believe your organization has raised the most money for research for MSA in the United States, if I'm not correct. So when you speak about care, for those of us that may not know or be unaware of it, what do you offer to patients and caregivers? Not monetarily, but what resources does your organization provide or offer or refer to for people at MSA or to take care of patients at MSA?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that we could call out. Most recently, we brought on a new position, a manager of our patient support services, who's a social worker. So now you have a professional staff ready to either call on our hotline or you can engage with her via email. So we have someone full time that can really help you, a patient and their care partners and family, navigate the various aspects of this disease from early diagnosis to end stage. She has the ability and capacity to provide some direct support as well as provide guidance in terms of other resources that are available to help navigate this. We have known from day one how hard this journey is. I was just speaking with in front of another group, kind of talking about the MSA diagnostic journey and how topsy-turvy and convoluted that is.
Mhm.
And I always speak to the fact that my perspective from feedback and conversations I've had has been the loneliness piece. And I don't know if that's the best way or not the best way to describe it, but the diagnosis, you have these three letters placed in front of you and you don't know what it is. I don't think I've spoken to a patient, and there are a lot of folks living with MSA that have physician backgrounds that know what multiple system atrophy is. So you get this diagnosis, and it is then drinking from a fire hydrant or a fire hose, right? And so I think one of the lowest hanging fruits or the most obvious thing from our perspective was to ensure that we have a professional paid trained staff that can at least start to help direct. I'm sure what are an immense amount of questions anyone who's starting in that journey is going through and everything in between. So that is something we brought Lauren King on about 6 months ago. And so that has been a real strong addition in terms of how we provide support. She is also providing more administrative and staff support for our peer support groups, which we have about 20 throughout the country. A lot of them meet virtually. But one of the things we're going to continue to do is provide more support. And what I mean by that is be more connected, provide more resources, make sure the peer support facilitators feel connected and supported by us as an organization, and that they know some of the things that we are doing at Mission MSA that their patients that they're talking with are aware of. Because we've done a lot as an organization. As I think about where we were 4 years ago on our newsletter versus where we are now in our newsletter, it's a lot of us doing things and it can be overwhelming. So we know we need to say the same thing in 7 different ways in 7 different mediums to all the different people. That's okay. I mean, that's just life. And so we're trying to be more supportive of our peer support facilitators. We recently created a guide in conjunction with Cure PSP to kind of give them some support, feel like they have some foundation when they're walking into these groups that they've so kindly volunteered to navigate. It's not an easy job, high amount of burnout. So we are continuing to assess how we can continue to support those pieces. We can talk about our webinars, which we've up to once a month beginning in 2024. So our educational outputs have increased exponentially to make sure that we're delivering content that is valuable for our patients and our care partners, no matter where they live. And I think MSA Connect, you kind of hit a little bit on that too, David. I think that has been a high value resource for a lot of our community. A lot of folks have shared your sentiments around the need for this, and we're going to continue to evolve it to make sure it's meeting different needs. So lastly, and again, I'm kind of giving you guys a bunch of breaking news. We are releasing an AI chat, and I think the word AI chatbot can trigger different things, and rightfully so. We are training it on our materials first and foremost, and this is a pilot. The thing is going to be designed to do 2 things. One, help patients, care partners, whoever, navigate our website because it can be a lot. I think the redesign helps significantly, but it is still a lot of information. And the second one is to answer MSA 101, basic questions around the disease that we've seen consistently and have monitored through MSA Connect so that there is someone 24/7 that can get baseline questions answered. Because our staff are not 24/7, but we know we have folks that are engaging with us from Australia and Europe and Asia. And so from an accessibility standpoint, it's very important that we have at least something that can get some needs. And we know people don't like to wait, and so we're going to try and be as quick and as we can. And it's also compatible in Spanish. So you ask it something in Spanish, you will get an answer in Spanish. And we're going to just continue to build on these kinds of things. So I think we've done some really fantastic work around support and education. We invited patients to the MSA Congress this year, which is the first time ever. And we had a beautiful amount of patients and care partners join us, and they really kind of form their own community. And it's something that we're also thinking about, like, how do we meaningfully bring people together in person that want to and are able to? Because there's real power in seeing and building a community, both virtually and in person. So I think we've done a lot, and we're really proud of where we are, but we know we're not done. There's more we can do.
How can families and patients and caregivers actually advocate for MSA?
Yeah, that's a great question, Daisy. And I think it's one we hear quite a bit. And often there's two ways people, I think, download the word advocacy. One is government relations. Like, how can I get on the Hill? How can I advocate to my elected officials? Which we want people to do. And there's a couple ways we have now done it as an organization, and we'll certainly invite everyone from our community to participate. We held our first Capitol Hill Day in March in marriage with MSA Awareness Month. And we hit 19 different elected officials' offices, both on the Senate and the House. And we certainly had asks. We wanted to maintain level funding of NIH and the CDC. But we also were there just to say, this is who we are. This is what multiple system atrophy is. Here's what it looks like. Here's why you should care. Here's how it affects your constituents. And we were joined by care partners, patients, industry. We're in a big group. We will hope to continue to grow this. But it was a really nice moment for us to kind of say, hey, we're here, use this as a resource, and we're going to be back because you need to know about us, and this is how you can support our initial work. So I think government relations, the other part of government relations besides just being on the Hill is sharing your story. And I cannot underscore this piece perhaps enough, because I think this is a way that makes an incredible amount of difference with perhaps the least amount of patient time. Telling your story is, I think, akin to basically giving numbers a heartbeat. We can tell them numbers are representative, but numbers are not a person. And if you hear the stories of the folks that are going through this difficult journey, it moves the needle in a way all the one-pagers, all the Joe Lindahl visits, all our government relations firm can't. And so even submitting a one-page 250 thing of, this is who I am, this is my journey with MSA, and this is why it's important, this is why you should care, is incredibly powerful. You could write it, you could video record it, you could be on a podcast, whatever it is. That is advocacy. I mean, the other way, and that's primarily going to be our strategy moving forward, is we have a government affairs team. I'm leading some of the efforts from the staffing perspective. We have our asks. We are working with other coalitions that have this a significant amount of the same investment. But the thing that moves the needle are patient stories and patient testimonials.
Speaking of stories, is there a particular story that has moved you or impacted you?
Yeah, a particular, I'll be honest that almost all of them do, and I don't think that's surprising. It's hard not to be emotionally moved by a disease that takes without warning. I don't know how you can't. I guess one that comes to mind is a gentleman who was recently diagnosed with a possible MSA at the age of 38 and has children. His spouse they're expecting a child. And I mean, that obviously is something that's incredibly memorable. They're basically my age, basically the same family dynamic, and it's absolutely moving. I could run down a plethora of different conversations I had the opportunity to engage with at the MSA Congress with their patients and care partners. It moves, it sits with you. These kind of stories, I think, sit with you. And then you also hear, in the face of such adversity, that they find joy in the moments that I would say maybe not small, but simple, where they found another person that lives near them with a similar age range that has multiple system atrophy. That connection in and of themselves gives them joy or hope or connection. So it's those little things that I think we help facilitate that reminds us of why we do this and why it's so important to continue to move things forward. So we want to climb the mountain. I want to climb Everest, which I would say is a cure. I absolutely want to do this. It's also necessary to acknowledge the small moments and victories on our journey there. We want to get there in one day. It may not happen in a day, but let's acknowledge that there are still things that are positive in a really difficult journey.
Yeah, you speak about difficulty, and there's many clinical trials for therapeutics, for imaging, or for cures. And the one thing I've seen in 2025 from reading, well, I don't work anymore. I'm just disabled. All I do is read and research. But the one thing that stands out in 2025, in the latter year of 24, is there are several clinical trials that are very promising at slowing or at least stopping the progression of the buildup of alpha-nucleus protein on the glial cells. Again, not a cure, but in a matter of 6 months, we've seen multiple clinical trials come back with a reporting of, better than zero. One was 65%, one was 20%, one was 30% of slowing, and at a point stopping. And now, of course, you got to go long term for the stopping part of it. But if you would have asked me where were we going to be last year, I would have said nowhere, because we had no progress, right? I mean, even following in the like you said, PSP cure Foundation, even following in the steps of the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's, once they were able to find biomarkers for Parkinson's, because I actually took a Parkinson's DNA test where they look for the biomarkers to see if you have. Once they find the biomarkers, which MSA they think they found 3 or 4, which again they're not sure of yet. But once they found these things, then they can move on to actually trying to develop a cure for it. So, I'm amazed in 6 years. I'm a realist. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I wish for a cure next week. We're not going to have one next week. But just in a matter of 6 months that we're having so many trials come back that are actually being productive, your organization and your team is a part of that. Is absolutely, critical to keeping us moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
My mom told me the other day, said, I don't know if I would like them to stop progression, and I don't want to stay this way forever. She said, well, what if they come up with a cure after they stop progression? And that really hit home. I don't know about this forever. What if they just stop progression and find a cure?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way as you. I would, it's unfortunate for those that are older and get diagnosed with MSA, because obviously they're up there in age, and it's hard to fight the battle when your immune system and your body's breaking down. Like the younger you are, the better you're at fighting MSA, but you're losing most of your life. But if they had a drug that would come out and would slow it down or pause it, I would be thrilled. I would be thrilled right now to still have my facial masking and all my physical diagnoses that I have from my doctors. I would be thrilled to live a life like this for the rest of my life. And for the first time since I've had it for 4 years, symptoms anyway, we might be on the cusp of something interesting, in the next year or less.
Speaking of clinical trials, we just had a Dr. Dahl on. Speaking of mascot, he just emailed me this morning and said that I'm not eligible for that as well. That's our thing we do with him, is he can not be eligible for a clinical trial because he's not progressed enough. But I'm not eligible for a clinical trial because I'm too progressed.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the line then?
Well, it happens.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say after I had my shoulder surgery, I'm probably happy that the pharmaceutical company said not the treatment, but the shoulder surgery would be bad on me, because my replacement of my shoulder surgery has gone very badly. I actually, I was mad at the pharmaceutical company for denying it, but in hindsight, seeing what this surgery did to me, I'm actually pretty happy because, those surgeries take a massive toll on patients with MSA.
Right. Yes.
Can you tell someone listening to the show right now how they can support Mission MSA, and whether it's financially or just for volunteering?
Yeah, I think there's a few ways certainly to support our organization. You mentioned fundraising, and I think that is certainly something that we are very reliant on individual donations as an organization. We've continued to grow our sponsorship and our industry support, but we are still mostly on individual donations. So as people think about where they could give their money and how they can support the work that we do, obviously we would love financial contributions. I mean, the other thing is just making us as a known entity to your loved ones, to your friends, to your networks. It's not always just giving us more of your personal money, but also sharing this organization exists. Here's how it matters to me. Here's some of the good work that they're doing. If you would like to support an organization like this, that to me is a mixture of both awareness, advocacy, and fundraising. And it's incredibly important. I mean, that's the position that we are in as an organization is we are very reliant on private donations. And so that would be certainly something that we would greatly appreciate. And again, just spreading the general awareness of our organization to the folks that don't know about us, even if it's $5, means something to an organization like ours. It really does. The other thing, yes, as you mentioned, Daisy, we are launching in a couple weeks here. Keep breaking news. A Living with Multiple System Atrophy advisory group. Now, this group is designed to really be a feedback mechanism for us at Mission MSA to make sure that whatever initiative, project, whatever it might be that we're doing or considering, we can get almost real-time feedback from the community that will be engaging with that content. We also want to make sure that a lot of people have different strengths, skills, interests, and so this group, you will have the opportunity to say, I want to be part. Also, I'm very interested in, say, advocacy, or I'm very interested in running a fundraiser, or I really want to learn more about clinical trials, or I'm happy to speak about it as someone who's gone through one. There'll be a lot of different ways to engage with us. And one of the things that we are cognizant of and is the amount of time and energy it can take to engage with us, as well as being respectful of the volunteers that are raising their hand. Like I said, we don't want to take up hours and hours of someone's time. We want to make sure it's clear, condensed, and impactful. Whatever time you're giving to our organization, you understand that it's of interest to you and you can see and feel its impact in something that's rewarding. We don't want to provide things that are just fluff, I would say. We really want everyone to see themselves inside our organization and be reflected in the work that we're doing. So this group is going to be really important so that we can have that kind of direct feedback mechanism. And if there's opportunities for the next level, say we really want to create a one pager for so-and-so at the Health and Appropriations Committee, and we will need 2 testimonials from folks living in Indiana. We would put out first a call to that group, and then go out to our general community. We really would like this community to be this advisory group to kind of be our go-to population that's willing to raise their hand in ways that they find meaningful for themselves and before going out to our larger community, because sometimes we do want to move quickly on some of these things, and having an engaged pool of individuals that are willing to do some stuff, very, very, very important for us and hopefully rewarding for the community as well.
Okay, fellas, or not, but you have ALS but Asperger's challenge. You're taking the fundraiser for Mission USA is called the Piece of Cake Challenge.
Piece of cake.
And is hashtag Piece of Cake, but it goes to Mission, money goes to Mission USA. So we really want to promote this challenge to not only share and donate, but awareness. That's the big thing with USA is awareness. And this challenge is going to do that. Just like the aspect challenge it is for ALS. #FeelIsCake challenge.
I was wondering what somebody with MSA could do to counter the ice bucket challenge. I was thinking of juggling darts, and we can't do that. So cake though. I just heard losing weight, Daisy. Does this involve eating cake?
And there's a really cute video that shows so many people with cake in their face.
I like
Well,
it.
let's check it out.
Really said, and no matter what he goes through, difficult days or progression, that he always says is a piece of cake. So that's what I came from.
I agree with that. I agree. Joe, if I said it once, I said it twice. We need to fund, and I'll ask my mom for money, but we need to fund the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade float for Mission MSA.
Mm-hmm.
Something that the entire world will see.
And so we
I'll help you. I'll help it.
We did release that documentary with David Quaid, The Viewpoint with Dennis Quaid.
Yes.
And that will be in 160 million households by the end of the year. So it's by far the largest awareness thing we've ever done with multiple system atrophy. And it is just it's a 7-minute documentary, tells us the what, the why, who, and it's a good start. It's a good start.
Are there more than one episode of this way, or just one?
Just the one episode. Yep.
We heard it was supposed to run once a week or something like that. Just one episode?
It's just one episode, but it's running through public broadcast television as well as some cable news. So it's going through a lot of different channels. And yeah, we're excited about it. We're glad that it's out there and hopefully it catches some attention.
Good.
It will definitely make some chatter.
Yeah, get some feedback. Joe, is there any final words you'd like to add before we wrap this up?
No, I want to say thank you both for doing this. Is an awareness piece. This is, I think that it's absolutely commendable what you both are doing, and we are so thrilled that you're aligned with us as Mission MSA. And I want to commend your leadership and vulnerability. I think we awarded a Patient Advocate Award to Mike Bonner earlier this year, and he's our second recipient. And I mentioned, I think one of the amazing things is to be an advocate, raise awareness around disease. There is a required amount of vulnerability. And vulnerability requires an immense amount of strength and give back attitude. So I want to say thank you to you, the both of you. You don't have to be doing this. By all accounts, you do not have to be doing this. But the fact that you're choosing to do this and want to do this speaks to your character. And so I just want to say thank you. I really do think it is an incredible thing that you both are doing. And I hope we can continue to support you.
You're very welcome. People think they progress a lot. And I think they kind of bounce back. We've come a long way.
Yeah, just talking and trying to look good on the internet is probably one of the hardest things to do for MSA. But it is very rewarding, Joe. And we definitely appreciate it. Your fine comments.
Yeah, so thank you for dedicating your time to come on the episode today. We really appreciate you taking that time out of your busy day. And you know what? Remember, we're all MSA Crusaders.
Thank you again, Joe, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you both.